I have a cat, okay? And every time a cat is sick, I take my cat to a vet. And the vet doesn't like do what we do. Like it doesn't look at the source code of the cat, okay? Doesn't cut the cat through, basically, to see the guts. Oh, maybe it's the liver, maybe not. What the vet does, puts the cat on the table, takes a look at the input, takes a look at the output, and then he can tell something about the condition of the system, right? So that's what this talk is all about, okay? So we can like provide better inputs, better outputs, so our systems are really like robust and take heavy load. This is our goal, okay? We want such systems. All right, this is one, which is common DDoSes. I will explain what it means, but in Latin it's DDoSes Silvestris. We are at the university, so we have to like be strict about it. Okay, so if you don't know, and maybe you don't know, the first disease is going to be explained in Polish, because this is like when it hurts me most, okay? So this is like from tax form. There's a tax office next here, right? Next building, so we are also in the context. So it says taxpayers data, last name, first name, country, voivodeship, birth date, country, more like a district, commune, street, house number, flat number or apartment number, location being that city or village, postal code, and the location of the post office. I mean the building, okay, the very building, and that's it. That's why everyone in Poland is so used to this bloody form, because we pay taxes, and when you pay taxes, you need to fill such a form. Okay, so I don't know if you guys Helion is one of the biggest Polish publishers, and they publish IT books, including UX and UI. Yet this is their registration form. Okay, and it says last name or company's name, first name or tax ID, and then goes city or post office. And it's really confusing, because what if you are a company but you're self-employed? So you have both last name and company name. So how should I use this form? Confusing. Of this form, like it says first name, last name, street, slash location, and again the post office in here, in this very field, or a form like this, okay? So it's really like the buyer, the delivery address, and the invoice address, and it says again like first name, last name, house number, the location, and the postal code. We don't know if there's an asterisk or not. Is it required or not? We don't know. I guess it is. And you have to like triple it if you want to have different addresses. So like this disease is common, and I really think it's quite common worldwide, not only in Poland. So this is from this is like a guide about correct addressing, and it's issued by a Polish post office. And you may complain about their services or not. One thing they do is just they deliver stuff for like 100 years. So I think they have quite an experience when it comes to addressing. And the addressing is this. If you're sending something abroad, you should put a country in here, and nothing if it's like a domestic shipment, okay? Then you put like a postal code, you put the location, then you put the name of the receiver, and then you put the house number and the apartment number, if there is any. And last part here, you put a street if you have a street. But like small villages don't have streets, okay? If you have a village, like the one I was born in, and there are 20 houses, using 7 roads, we don't have any streets. Like there's like just a village name plus number, and that's it. We don't have any streets, formal streets. And this is what they say here, okay? And they say it's important. Address should always have the zip code and the city or village, the location the receiver lives in. And that's it. They say nothing about post office, like the building, Like you have a post box. I don't know how it works in Lviv, but it might be that instead of receiving the package or letter, you just get a note that your package is waiting for you at the post office. Yeah, you share the pain, okay? So that's why the guy shouldn't be known the postman, but the notice man. They deliver notices, not post, actually. right? So, and then when you are about to collect this delivery, this package, right? The address of the post office is specified, and the time when you should like collect your delivery, and that's it. But it's not the business of the sender to specify where this building is located, because it doesn't really matter where this notice man is starting from, right? It's transparent, basically. But this is a huge problem. Okay, so I live, as I said, nearby Wrocław, and this says that there's a big store, almost like a warehouse, and it's located in a village called Długołęka, which was German Lange Wiese, and which means like a kind of a long field or something, and there's a zip code and there's street address. It's ulica Wrocławska. And it's quite obvious, like every village nearby has a ulica Wrocławska, because this is how it works. You have a city in the center, villages or small towns around it, so the street heading in that direction of the city is the name of the city. That works pretty much everywhere in the world. Okay, so this is the address they show on their web page. But when you get an invoice from them, like I do sometimes, suddenly the address is not 55-095 Długołęka by 55095 Mirków. Did they change the location? Like, I don't know, they have like a 3 acres hole or something? Many tons of goods to buy? I don't think so. So, how it looks. Wrocław begins more or less here. This is Wrocław. And as you can see, in this part of the neighborhood, we can have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8 times ulica Wrocławska. Wrocławska Street, or Wrocław Street, okay? Thing is, here is the Mirków, so the village they mentioned here, and this is where actually the building of the post office is located. I mean physically, like doors, windows, walls, everything, okay? But the commune, like the capital of the commune, is here in Długołęka, which also has Wrocławska Street. So, and these all 5 streets are under this code, these 2 are under different code, and this one is under 3rd code. Despite being a single commune. Gets twisted, right? So this is our domain, as you can see. All right, so what do you think the address is? Where they are actually located when you take a look at these 5? Exactly, you're not sure, but local delivery men know that, okay? Because there's only one such a big store, right? So they know it's located in here. So even if they put like a stupid address, which is like not the location of the hall, but the location of the post office in the nearest one, still they get all the shipments in here. So for them, it's not such a big deal. So like they tell, okay, so what it bothers you that there's such an inconsistency in the address? Like they can put what name of this village here or name of this village here. Eventually, they will get all the shipments anyway, right? The trouble is, sometimes you're not such a big Selgros, but you're just a guy, an ordinary guy living at Field Street, ulica Polna, and the sender, instead of your village, puts another village, the village the post office is located. All right? And then it's problematic. But because delivery man or notice man don't know me, I'm not a big warehouse. Okay? So these are field streets marked here. Okay, I live in here. This is another Polna Street, and this is Polna Street, and as a reminder, the post office is located here. And when a delivery guy, like from these delivering companies like UPS or FedEx or whatever, you name it, is calling me, like they give me a call. Look, mister, I can't find ulica Polna 1A in Mirków, Just guess, where do you think they're standing with their van? Yeah, exactly, they stand here, and I live here. Because some moron doesn't know that they shouldn't put the location of the post office building. Because they saw it maybe in the tax form or whatever. And Worse yet, for some companies, like there's a company in Poland whose name starts with G and ends with what's his name? I forgot. Anyway, so they do that always because this is how their system generates their labels. So if I buy something on the internet and the shipment goes through them, it's like 90% not delivered for the first time. Really pain in the back, really. But I found out what the commune is doing, like the office of gmina, and they're doing this thing. Like they put the location of the post office, and here for the street name, they prepended with the location of the village. This way they hacked it, okay? They hacked it so they have like both location of the post office and their actual location at the Walker Street 12. And I decided to follow their hack. And since I do that, I get almost every shipment, okay? So, but this is one of the biggest Polish banks. And let's say you want to open an account in Poland, because why not? And this is their form. And see, it's like a crappy enumeration. It says street, avenue, settlement, square, roundabout, settlement or village. Trouble is, I don't know how it works in Lviv, but in Poland you can have not only a single aleja, not just one avenue, but avenues. Like one of the biggest streets in Warsaw is Aleje Ujazdowskie avenues. Or if you live at the boulevard is not here. So, no account, sweetie. Or I don't know what they do. But if it happens to you that you live in the boulevard, like boulevard of someone 12, you won't open the account. By the way, one thing I've forgotten to show you. If you decide to visit Wrocław, we have here Ulica Tarasa Szewczenka. So you consider yourself invited. Okay, back to the slides. So it's difficult to open an account, okay? So even if you switch this form to English, I don't know if they allow that, but say that they have this field for house number in here. Yet in France, and according to the EU law, it should be no problem for you, like living in one state and open an account in another state, right? Okay, so the address is the other way. You don't have the Revolution Street 6, you have 6 Rue Rivoli. Okay, so the field goes here, or should go here. So I'm not sure if they have like a good UI or UX experts, all right? So you see and again, it's like a postal code, but they had their location right. That's this thing they got right, okay? So let's skip the other end, because this was the front end. Let's not dig into the other end, but you know how it looks like, okay? You know all these huge tables with many columns like street, house number, and so on. You have such tables, right? Of course you do. But let's not take a look in there. All right, we won't get dirty. There are villages in Poland that don't have streets. Maybe it's the case in Ukraine as well. That small village doesn't have, like you have a village that consists of 5 houses, 10 houses, you don't have a form of villages. Streets in there. There are states in the world without formal streets, like in Africa, okay? So if you put this asterisk next to a street field and you ship worldwide, you suck. There are states without postal codes. So there are states which don't observe this concept of zip code or postal code. So again, if you fill it, I don't know, or require it, people would fill it with like zeros or whatever if you ship worldwide. Okay? So I ask people who work in there, who make such forms, who make such tables in databases, why are you doing this? You know, I was trying to follow this 5-why principle, why, and so on. And the answer was DDD. Or event sourcing. Do you know this typical example of event sourcing that somebody puts something in a cart, like their shopping cart, but they don't check out. So 1 year after, a smart manager or salesman says, okay, we should implement this event sourcing, so we know that they put that in their cart, but they didn't check out, so we can like do some promo code for them or whatever. Yeah, that's the event sourcing. An example of that. So what kind of event sourcing can you provide if you have a separate field for an apartment number? Like if it's even number, you can get like a 10% discount. Or if the post office happens to be in the same city that you live in, you get 15% discount. It's ridiculous. It's not an excuse. Like DDD, I'm not a DDD expert, okay? I can't tell you 100% correctly what DDD is all about, but I can tell you for sure what it's not about. And it's certainly not about dividing your input or output into as many tiny pieces as possible, because you saw such a form elsewhere, okay? If you ship from a single location, countrywide or worldwide, you really don't care about the house number, okay? This might happen that you care if you work like in a pizza delivery, okay? That there's a huge street, like a few kilometers long, and you deliver to a certain point for free, and starting there you charge extra for the delivery. That makes sense, that's your domain. But if you ship from one location to the whole world, knowing the exact number might not be your domain. Therefore, it doesn't apply to DDD. So this is the, I scanned the paper from Polish Post Office, how they require you to address various shipments. So you enter the zip code or postal code, the location, and here is the free text entry. And that's it. That's just it. You can put the name, company name, the street, boulevards, avenues. You can put 6 Rue de Rivoli. It will fit and accommodate everything, because they know their domain, apparently. So you should do maybe something like this, yeah? So there is no separate field for a house number or for a post office. Or, yeah, so that's my prescription for it, for such a disease. Don't excuse yourself with DDD for your crappy forms and for your crappy database design, especially if you have no idea what you're talking about, which many cases is the case, unfortunately. All right, disease 2, regex diarrhea. In English, diarrhea regexis. Let's go to electronic mail. So let's say, do you know this concept of plus aliasing, of plus addressing? Yeah, you know that. Okay. So if you happen to want an email address in Orange, Poland, you can't register using such an address. Like, I want this new fiber connection, it won't work, right? Because it's incorrect. Or if you'd like to register for social security, you can't register it for, I mean, not this IP address, but say you have a valid IP address to get spam, okay? So we can't enter it, yet such a password is correct. It's considered a strong password. I have another talk on passwords if you're interested. Okay, let's go further. So in Poland, when you sell or buy a car, you need to register it, right? So in my hometown, the office decided that they will make it friendly for you, but yet you can't pre-register to get like your schedule using such an address because it says incorrect email format. So I decided to take a look at this source for the very first time, okay? And I don't know how about you in Ukrainian or Russian, but in Polish you don't take a look. In Polish you throw an eye. Rzucasz okiem. You throw an eye. So I have decided to throw an eye on the code. Hey, sir, here's an eye for you. Hey, here's an eye for you. Throw it on the code. Yeah, do that. Let's validate this code. Throw it. Still, we're at the Catholic University, an eye for an eye. All right, let's analyze this code. So as you can see, it validates email. Yet it doesn't allow you to enter the plus sign. The plus here says that it requires at least one occurrence of such strings, okay? Which means that what you put before at can be like only dot, all right? But you can't put like Piotr plus S. It won't work, basically. And the code comes from here. All right. By the way, see this return false, return true, and setting some validation results to the UI. This is not how you guys write code, okay? Not even in JavaScript. Oh, sorry, wrong button. So these are a few correct email addresses, see? And even this is valid since 2012. And this alias addressing, plus addressing is here. It's a valid email address. Okay, it's a valid one. So the slides are online and they are open source, so you can just fetch them from here. And these are incorrect email addresses. Oh, see, so you can't put 2 consecutive dots. It's incorrect email address. Yet it would pass that regular expression. All right. So is it possible to validate an email address with a regular expression? I'm also a bootcamp teacher, and we had such a exercise with the students. And the exercise was like try to validate email address with a regular expression, and I shown them the solution. It's this one. And they have asked me, "Did you write that?" And I said, "No, really? I did what you guys do, yeah? We all go to Stack Overflow." And I didn't manage to break this regular expression. I mean, using this list of incorrect and correct addresses, it filters them correctly. I mean, there are no false positives and false negatives. This is the regular expression to validate email addresses in Java. Even if you validate it with regular expression, someone may misspell it, right? I just misspell it twice. So when I see such a form and repeat your email address, it means I will do copy-paste. Because this is what we do. So I will copy incorrect email address anyway, basically. So maybe you should use RFC, so one of them, because there were many. Or maybe a server doesn't support it, so maybe let's perform an MX or SMTP test. All right, but what if there's no such mailbox? Or what if antivirus will stop it because it thinks it's a scam or whatever, or we have a bad rating in our domain? Or maybe this mailbox exists but doesn't belong to the user. There are many what, basically. Or maybe we can validate something like this. Anyone, any other volunteer to throw an eye? Yeah, come on. Here's an eye for you. And throw the eye on the code and tell us, please, what's being validated here? What do we validate in this piece of code? Yeah, she threw well, yeah. Okay, well, hold on. Here's an eye for you. So guys, what do we validate here? Domain name, almost. URL, who said URL? Okay. I throw, you catch, okay? Perfect, jelly handling, okay. Yeah, it's a URL being validated here, as you can see. It comes from here, from GitHub, so not each and every piece of open source is good. By the way, see this, if matches then return true or return false. That's smelly, right? What can pass it? This will pass it. It's a valid URL. This is a valid URL. This is a valid URL without protocol. This is valid URL with a space in here. And even this is a valid URL according to this regular expression. Right? So, if you have a problem and you solve it with a regular expression, as the Dakota tribe says, you end up having 2 problems. And it doesn't apply to Perl, of course. In Perl, everything is a regular expression, as we know it. So my prescription, if you collect email addresses, just try sending something using these email addresses. Maybe don't use regex to validate them, but simply send the first message to validate. Then you know such a mailbox exists and the user can access it, basically. Right? Okay, maybe you can check if there's this @ sign, or something in behind, something after. Okay? But you shouldn't perform the fine-tuned validation because you end up this wall of text. Yet it doesn't guarantee that such a mailbox exists and the user can access it. So it's it doesn't solve your issue anyway. This is 3, which is not made here syndrome. In Latin, syndroma non fecit a nobis. Recognize the table? Does it ring a bell? Okay, so what's being kept in this created field? What do we keep here? Timestamp, yeah. Who said timestamp? You were the first one, okay. Catch the jellies. All right, yeah, that's a timestamp. And there are many other ways. You can keep it as a variable character, right? Because it's a date. Or we can split it, yeah? Remember this first example of DDD? Come on, DDDOSes? So we have the date and hour. We improved our performance, of course. And why simply not use SQL? It's timestamp with time zone. because you always want to keep the time zone, mind you. Or you keep everything in UTC. Two choices, basically. And because if you don't, you end up having something like this. This is the date parser, right? Yeah, that's C#, but I mean, we have the same stuff in Java, right? Such a parser, because, you know, the whole word is wrong. You know how to parse the date, right? And how to keep it. Of course, yeah. Or you end up having something like this. If this is like less than 10, then you pad it with 0, of course, for string formatting, yeah. Because no project is scrappy enough in its scrappiness without its own date parser. Really. You didn't reach the bottom if you don't have your own date parser. Once you have it, bingo. It's scrappy enough. Somewhere on the WTF. So there are more examples like this, like database in database. Does it ring a bell? Any SAP consultant? Because why should we say that this column is like a date and this is like a long or whatever? We can keep the type in here, right? So we have dynamic data schema, right? So we just invented SQL in SQL, database in database. Basically, this is what it ends up. Or maybe we would like to generate CSV from such a database, okay? So then we select what we need to select, then we generate the header, then we iterate through each row and each column. And mind you, if that column time was timestamp, we format it as a date, because we have that date parser. Else, we format it elsewhere because, you know, in another way, because we can't forget to escape. You know, we have to quote it if there's a comma inside and stuff, because it's CSV, right? And then it is, of course, new lines, formatting, blah, 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 more of this stuff. Or, at least for Postgres, we can do something like this. We can write such a query and copy it to standard output, which we redirect to a file. And that's it. That's how you generate CSV out of database directly, using like your nightly cron or whatever. It works. I've tested it. I've replaced such a script with something like this. So 200 lines of code went away. Yeah. This is what happens whenever you implement something on your own, really. So if you have itchy fingers, in Polish, palce cię świerzbią, your fingers are itchy because you like to do that desperately, right? And you'd like to pass dates on your own way, or you like to implement database in database, or you'd like to develop DNS resolver because current ones are rubbish, you know that. Or you'd like to hash passwords the most secure way in the world, or you'd like to generate CSV because nobody has done that properly before you, or you should remember that someone somewhere already did that, apparently. Probably better. And it's tested, right? And it's documented. So my prescription to that, if you're holding this golden hammer, you've learned a new thing, reactive programming, microservices, Spring Boot version something, or Kotlin coroutines or whatever, and you have this golden hammer, and you can nail everything using this golden hammer, no matter what that is, you'll fix it using this golden hammer. Imagine this golden hammer here. Ask your friend to hit you softly. Not with the hammer, okay? Not with the hammer, but a little slap in the cheek would do, I guess. Okay, this is for the last one for today, malicious stringosis. In Latin, stringosa malignum. Again, let's develop this table further. Do you recognize this table? So we keep our ID as a variable character because we can't check UIDs, okay? So we for a reason we don't keep UIDs in here, we just keep it as variable characters, 32 characters, you know, digits and numbers plus 4 dashes. And we keep it when it was created in variable character, because why not? We keep the name of the client tax ID as a long, and the balance as a double, and we check it. We check precision, like if it's not more than 2 digits after the comma, right? Okay. So as it seems, minus 42 is a valid tax ID, according to this schema. And then in Java or Kotlin or whatever, we end up with such code. String ID, string created, string name, long tax ID, and double balance. It's uppercase double because you might have no balance. So we prepare to handle nulls, meaning no balance. We can do that. Okay, but then when you have such a database and it applies such a code, in each and every method you end up having something like this. When you do something with a tax ID, you add another method to your company's validation utils. You have these validation utils and string utils. I know you do. And you verify if this tax ID is really tax ID, if it's not minus 42. And if it's okay, then you carry on with your business logic. Right? The same happens to client ID. This is what you do. Of course, not you, the bastard who left the code base for you, of course. Not you. You leave it for someone else. Let's try it again. We can do it like this, okay? We can use in PostgreSQL, because this is the SQL database I mastered the most. You can use UUID. You can use timestamp with timesdown. You can still keep the name as a variable character, or at least for Poland, you can keep it as a variable character and you check it. Like we have a checksum, like for the credit card numbers and so on. So at least you can check if it could make sense that it's not minus 42. And we keep the balance in type money, not double. In PostgreSQL, there's a special type to keep money, apparently. And then in Java or Kotlin or whatever, we can keep such this is our Hibernate entity, okay? We can keep something like this. UID instant. We don't keep it as date since Java 8. Only as instant, and previously we all used Yoda time, of course. We can keep name as a string, a special type for tax ID, and we keep a balance in monetary amount. Not as a big decimal, not as a double, okay? Or maybe we can do even better, and we can get rid of this balance here, so our client is not mutable anymore. And we can introduce client ID here. It's just a wrapper around UUID. So client ID can't be used instead of tax ID or any other ID. Like you have like account UUID, client ID, like invoice UUID and something. And instead of UUID, you can keep a special ID here, only for clients, right? And then in each and every method in Java, you have something like this. Once you just get tax ID, you check it if it's not null. If it's not null, you carry on with your business logic. And in Kotlin or C#, you don't even have to go with this null check. You just know it's not null, okay? Then it's not null, it's a valid tax ID, a valid client ID, and you can carry on. You don't have to convert it from string. You don't need to check if it's not minus 42, and so on. Because you're using type system, finally, okay? We got rid of API absurd such as this. What business value or what value in your domain does it represent to get the first character of client's ID? Like, okay, if it's even, we have extra promotion for you. If it's divisible by 3, you'll get 7% off. Lucky one. Or what does it mean to get bytes of concatenated client's ID and tax ID? I mean, if you see such a domain-driven code, what does it mean? Or what does it mean that if you keep client's ID and create it as longs that you compare which is minimum and then something based on that? Like if ID is less than created, you fire off some logic. But this is a valid code, right? The compiler won't warn you. And these are the API absurds in your code, in our code, sorry, in our code. I'll show you the pain. Premature optimization, remember that, is root of all evil. And mutable objects are optimization too. That's why we should try to get rid of mutable state from our object. There is no reason to keep the balance of the client along with its name, address, and tax ID. Okay, it happens so rarely that maybe you can only just for changing tax ID, it's impossible, at least in Poland. If they change the name of address, you can do that in a SQL update manually, right? Basically, but balance changes so often. It's the purpose of the balance to change, to balance. So we can keep it in separate locations, separate code, and so on. And easy to generate JSON is not an argument, really. I've had, okay, but then you need to create these wrappers, these serializers, the serializers in Jackson. Yeah. Have you heard of like port adapters? Ports and adapters? Hexagonal architecture, clean architecture, right? Does it ring a bell? You keep your domain, your business logic, away from like the database pollutions and UI pollutions or any other interface pollutions. You keep it like clean and concise, and you just supply it with ports and adapters. Yeah, this was one of the famous tweets some time ago. Like, I'll leave you to read it, or I can read it loud. What happens if I send it a string? What happens if X is none, and so on? Like, what happens if I order a lizard at the bar instead of vodka martini, shaken not stirred? What happens? How do I test that? Why is there no framework to test that? And there was a great answer from Mario Fusco that this stupid library is statically typed language. Okay? That's why we have types in languages, to make sure you don't get a lizard when you order the beer. All right? So, my prescription to this disease, every time you keep stuff in Java as string or as any other primitive type, like you keep tax ID as a long, or you keep balance as double, what you actually do, or you should think really hard if you're not turning Java into PHP. Or JavaScript, or any other dynamic language. You know what I mean? Because this is what you effectively do at the end of the day. If you keep your data in strings instead of well-crafted design types, you turn your Java, Kotlin, and Scala into PHP. This is what you do when you have just string. I'm not like... It doesn't refer to these like interfaces for your JSON. It's okay, like for DTOs, it's quite okay to keep that, or it's acceptable. Let me put it that way. But for your core domain, if you get rid of the types, the compiler won't warn you, and you'll end up with these API absurds. Okay. So my conclusion is this. I also stole a tweet from Mario Fusco, and he says, if you choose the right data structure at one end of the system, input or output, and then if you just apply it the same to the UI, the algorithm is much more difficult to spoil, basically, in between. Once you make sure that this end of a system is okay and this end of a system is okay, then it's like less area to make mistakes in the middle, okay? That's kind of obvious, yet we tend to forget about it. And guys, always and everyone, feedback. Not just me, not just at this conference, JavaDay Lviv, just every time you see a presentation at a meetup or whatever, feedback the speakers. First, you reward that for days of hard work. Second, you guarantee the next time the talk will be better. So that's something for you. And if you're shy, if you don't want to send email, tweet me, or fill some forms, you can just do like a lady did. She wrote the feedback on a piece of paper and asked a friend to pass it to me because she was too shy. Yeah, good job. That was it. Thanks a lot. Stay fit. These are the slides, and yeah, thank you very much for joining me.